Here is a demonstration of the input delay on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It is a game that is running at 60 frames per second, and I'm running my camera at 30 frames per second. And the slate back here and this little box here are both in sync, and they will prove to you that every time I jump up a frame right here, which you'll see, I can go down a frame and go up frame by frame, and we can see roughly how much input delay there is. I figured 30 was good because the games I am trying to prove have input delay run at 30 frames per second, so we'll see every frame as it appears on screen. So as you can see here, I'm pushing down on the thumbstick, and it'll happen about 2 to 3 frames later. So I start pushing down on 05, 05, 02. This is the timeline time code, and this is the in-camera time code. So we start on frame number 5 or number 2, and then 1, 2, 3, and then the action starts happening. As you can see, there's a little bit of ghosting, and that's because the animation has started to take place. And then if we find another point where I press down, so the action starts here on 1 and on 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So action starts, actually that might be some dead zone because there's 1, 2, 3, and there it is. It starts happening right there. And I believe I press it again right here, so we'll have, alright, down, 1, 2, 3. See 3 frames of input delay on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is an official Joy-Con controller, and this is the original Switch. And now we have Borderlands 3 running on the Switch. This game I have in the settings capped at 30 frames per second so that it will more closely match the games in the Legendary Collection, that being Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, and Borderlands the pre-sequel. And my camera is running at 30 frames per second. There is timecode here. These two are synced up with camera timecode, and this right here is the timeline timecode, basically how long in the video we are, whereas this is real-time clock. So as you can see here, if I can get on the timeline, so right here I will push up and we will start the countdown here. 1, 2, 3, the frame starts moving after 3 frames. And it's roughly 3 frames of input delay, and let's see when I let go of this. I let go right there. 1, 2, 3. And that's when it loses it. It's more like 2 actually. So 2 frames of input delay when letting go. And I'll get another sample right here. And this is within the dead zone. Boom, 1. There's 1, 2. Actually, let's go ahead and count 1, 2, 3, and the frame starts moving right there. And let me find another one. Oh, there's another one. So there it is. 1, 2, maybe even 2 frames of input delay. Well, I push it on this frame, so 1, 2, 3, and on the 3rd frame it starts. So there's only about 2 to 3 frames of input delay in not only Borderlands 3, which is published by 2K and developed by Gearbox, but it's the same in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Again, this is an official Nintendo Joy-Con on the original Switch hardware. Alright, now we are on to Borderlands the pre-sequel, and again, I am recording in 30 frames per second. The game is capped at 30 frames per second. According to Digital Foundry, I don't know if it actually is. This is you guys' game. But yeah, here is camera time code, synced up with more camera time code just for redundancy, and then down here is the timeline time code. So this right here is the duration of the video, and this right here is the real-time clock and what the camera is receiving. So if we look, I'll have to click on the timeline again. Yeah, now I can go frame by frame. So right here is where the input starts. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 frames before it starts moving. And it gets even worse. There are some where, okay, so input starts here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's right there again. And again, whenever I do let go, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 frames of release delay. Whereas with the other two games, Smash Bros. Ultimate and Borderlands 3, the release input delay was the same, if not lower than the actual input delay, if that makes sense. The positive input as opposed to the negative input. So we'll go frame by frame again. Here's another one. So input starts here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 frames of input delay. And then there's another one right here. So input starts here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 frames of input delay. And this is an official Nintendo Joy-Con on the original Nintendo Switch. Here is Borderlands 2 from the Legendary Collection. I am running my camera at 30 frames per second, which is what the Borderlands Legendary Collection is capped at. It's, or I believe, according to Digital Foundry. I have time code right here. The actual displays are a little off, but they should display similar. So right there it says 7, it's transitioning to 8. Now this is at 8, this is at 9. Now they're both at 10. They're both definitely at 10, 12. So yeah, see, the displays are a little off, but you can see the timeline time code right here. This is just to prove to you that I'm not removing frames. And this is the timeline time code. Anyways, so let's see. So input starts right here, because this is within dead zone. Boom, input. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's when it starts playing on here. And again, release time. I release it, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, maybe even 6. So let's see. Release 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to count that, but it is still transitioning, as you can see right here. But you see how I can have an entire input, and by the time I let go of the input, that's when it starts moving on screen. So if we find another time I input, so 1, actually this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 frames of input delay. I can find another one. So there's the input. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 frames of input delay. This is Borderlands 2, which is one of my favorite games, and it's just kind of frustrating that there's this much input delay on the Nintendo Switch version. This is an official Nintendo Switch Joy-Con on the original Nintendo Switch day one, not the red box. This is Borderlands 1 input delay on the Nintendo Switch. I have camera time code right here and right here for redundancy. This is the timeline time code. This is where the timeline is actually starting, or where it actually is, so you can see when I jump up a frame, and this is to prove that I'm not removing frames from the editing software. You can see when I do remove a frame. Now they are a little off, but you'll see, 22, 23, and a 24, 25, they're both at 25, 26, this is still hanging behind at 25, but now they're both at 27. So, yeah. I will go ahead and pull up the actual input delay. Alright, right here. So, input starts right here. This is still within the dead zone. That's where the input starts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 frames of input delay. And if I find another one, and we can actually see the release input delay too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's where it stops. And this is the same thing with Borderlands 2, where I can have an entire input and nothing will happen on screen until about a frame or two after I let go, and then it starts moving. And we can find another example of this. So there, I'll count it. I think the other one was out of the dead zone, but we'll still count this one instead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 frames of input delay. And again, the release delay is, we'll say right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 frames again. Yeah. I don't feel like this is on my Switch specifically. I believe this is amongst all Switches, because I have the same issues in the exact same games on my Nintendo Switch Lite and on my younger brother's Switches as well. And they're all from different years. These are all different models. I have deleted the game off of this Switch specifically right here in the footage and reinstalled it. I've installed it on the internal storage. I've installed it on the external storage, which is rated to be faster, but I know it's actually capped at a certain speed to where it's slower than the internal memory or storage. I've tried archiving it. I've tried deleting my save data, and nothing has worked to mitigate the input delay. I tried playing this game with one of my friends, and when it was docked, it was legitimately unplayable. I mean, unless you like trying to play what may have just happened, what is about to happen. If you like anticipating what's about to happen, then it might be fun for you, but we were not able to play it on my TV. But this is just straight Switch. This is not a screen at all. So I have trouble playing it when it's not in handheld mode. and it's really frustrating because it should play really well, just as well as all my other games, but it doesn't. So yeah, there's my 2 cents. Official Joy-Con controller, or Nintendo Joy-Con, and the original non-red box Year 1 Switch.